So I went to undergraduate school to get a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. That took 4 years, so that consists of 2 years of prerequisites and then 2 years of nursing school that has didactic and practicum and clinicals. And then after that, most neonatal nurse practitioner schools require you to have at least 2 years of bedside nursing experience before they'll consider you in an ICU. And so I did that, and then I went to get my master's degree, and that took 3 years. Some master's degree programs you can do in 2, but I split my first year part-time. Well, I guess I split the first year into 2, so I did 2 part-time years and then 1 full-time year. That way I would have a chance to still work full-time and work at the bedside and get more nursing experience. So yes, altogether 7 years, and that's a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
So I went to Adelphi University, the Honors College at Adelphi, for my undergraduate biology degree, and then I stayed there working as a TA and doing the master's program for 2 years in biology. Then I went to medical school at SUNY Downstate, which is the State University of New York, College of Medicine in Brooklyn. And I was there for 4 years, and then I did a 3-year residency at SUNY Stony Brook, which is further out on Long Island in New York. And then I continued there for an additional year as chief resident. And then I did some online work to get my certification to become a board certified lactation consultant. So I'm both a board certified pediatrician and a board certified lactation consultant.
I work anywhere from 36 to 48, and I work 12-hour shifts. So right now I work every weekend and one other day during the week, sometimes 2.
Overall, I'm contracted for 2,080 hours a year. So that breaks down to about 7.5 24-hour shifts every month. For me, because I work around my husband's schedule, I typically work different days every week, and usually 2 24-hour shifts, so 48 hours, sometimes 3 24-hour shifts each week, so anywhere from 48 to 72 hours.
So I guess my typical work week hours are probably different than most other primary care physicians because I'm also started up my own business, so there's part of that playing into it too. So I typically work in my private practice 8 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and about 6 hours on Friday, and then I moonlight on a 12-hour shift on Thursday and an 8-hour shift on Sunday. So That's a lot of math. Let's see. So 8 times 4 would be 32, about 30, 42, about 50 hours a week right now.
So I'm pretty good about budgeting work time into my week. And the only, because I do another side business, so the only time I have a certain amount of hours that I'll work per week. So that's 36 hours per week. Because it does affect family life, it's really hard, especially when you have little kids, to be gone for 24 hours. And by the time you leave and get home, it's more like 26, 27 hours because you have to give a report coming on and off.
Well, I think it affects it as far as time in two different ways, both like positive and negative. I think working the schedule I work, I work 8 24-hour shifts a month, so that gives me, anywhere from 20 to, 22 days a month to be off of work, which is really amazing when it comes to scheduling, time off to be with my family. It gives me, when my kids were really young, it gave me time to just be at home and be a mom. Now sometimes on the days after a 24-hour shift, I'm really tired. So maybe I'm not the best mom or wife on those days, but I do my best. I would say it's negative when it comes to scheduling and time, because sometimes you're tired, and I never work the same days in a week. So it's really hard for like my kids to have activities on the same day every week, and me always know that I can be there.
You're usually gone in the evening, toward the evening, so it's hard for the family because I miss dinners. I can't help my son with homework in the evening. I can't pick up my daughter. My husband has to pick up the slack all the time. It's difficult.
So my third baby ended up being in the NICU after he was born, and pretty traumatic experience, and spent 2 weeks in the NICU for pulmonary hypertension, and it was a huge, traumatic but an incredible experience at the same time, because it was something that made me realize that I was missing out on something that I thought would be really awesome, which was helping other people go through life experiences and doing my part to make those experiences better.
I fell in love with nursing, so I stuck with that, and I worked in the emergency room while I was in nursing school and thought I only wanted to be a trauma nurse, and didn't want anything to do with babies or kids, or just because I was uncomfortable with them. I'm the youngest. I didn't have any little kids around me growing up. And then during my pediatric rotation, I begged to go to an ICU because I always liked a lot of action and critical care. And so they sent me to the NICU for 4 hours just to watch a nurse. I didn't get to do anything. I just stood there and watched, and it was amazing. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do.
Pediatrics was kind of an easy decision for me in medical school. I knew I wanted to go into primary care. One of the reasons for that simply was, one, you tend to develop more meaningful relationships with your patients.
The practitioners function as doctors most of the time. There's, besides the surgical kids, which we don't go down on surgical cases, but we manage post-operatively. So that's just a small difference, the only difference really. And the other big difference is the amount of pay that a neonatologist receives versus a practitioner. And to me, my time with my people, my family, is more important than money. So it's a no-brainer for me to pursue practicing instead of being a physician.
I don't think I would do anything differently. Like I said before, I've had moments where I wondered, should I have gone to medical school? But then I look at my life and my family life, and I realize no, like I'm doing what I want to do, and I have the family life that, you know, I want to have and that fits into it. So I don't think so. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm pretty happy.
I'd say that I'm happy being a pediatrician. I enjoy what I do. I think maybe the thing I might have done differently in med school and in my other places of training is maybe paying more attention to the business side of things and focusing on like what life at the other end of the training might look like. But certainly don't have any regrets becoming a physician or a pediatrician.
I just reduced my hours to 30 a week, so I'm part-time, just working 3 days. I work 3 10-hour shifts. I was working 4 10-hour shifts, so full-time, 40 hours a week, but it was too hard on my family.
They kind of take our hours on a month view because we work 24-hour shifts, and so it usually ends up the average when you calculate it based on a month and then a year average. It equates to about 34 hours a week, based on part-time, full-time. That's a full-time position. So there's scales of full-time. I'm the lowest amount of full-time that you can be, which is 5.5 shifts per month. I forgot what that is yearly, but so I basically am paid 5.5 shifts a month, but I usually end up working 6 because most of our shifts are 24 hours. It takes me about 2 days to recover from a 24-hour shift, so I count them. The rest time that I have to recuperate as work time too, because it's all due to work that I need that rest time. So it takes me in my old age about 2 days to recover now. So I have to get childcare for those 2 days, especially the day after I work because I get off at 7 a.m. So taking care of kids is a challenge when you're sleep deprived. So, I mean, when you have little kids, it's hard because you have to find childcare for that amount of time, especially my husband travels quite a bit. So sometimes he'll have last minute travel come up. I can't augment my schedule, so we end up being gone for 24 hours. My kids need 24-hour care because they're little. So that ends up being a pretty big expense. Childcare is really expensive, and since I don't have consistent days of the week that I work, it's variable. It's really hard to find childcare.
So work-life balance was always really important to me, and it's one of the reasons why, even though I loved surgery, I chose not to go into it. I instead went into pediatrics because I knew that I wanted to both have a family and see and raise my family, so that was why I went down the pediatrics route. And especially working with kids, it makes it so vital and so important that you appreciate the time you have with your own children, because you see the freak accidents that happen, and you see the preventable diseases for folks that choose not to vaccinate, and you see the things that even with people who've done everything right, infectious disease sometimes takes a kid. So it really makes that time with your own children that much more precious, and when you get home you hug them even tighter, you kiss them even harder. And definitely there's a sacrifice. And I think more so for the people that had kids during medical school or during residency. I was pregnant with my first child in my chief year, so he was only 4 months old when I finished up my chief year and moved and began my attending life. And then I had my second child while I was still working as an attending, and I was able to take 8 weeks of maternity leave, which is more than some people get. So I was grateful for that time with them, and I've just done my best to make sure that the childcare that I've provided for them is stimulating and safe and gives them opportunities to interact with other kids, which I think is really important, and that I structure my life so that I can have that time with them as well, making sure that I prioritize time with each of them as individuals, time with them together, time with them and my husband as a family, and to make sure that they know that when mommy isn't there, it's because I'm taking care of other sick kids, and it's not because I don't love them, it's because I love my patients too. I think it's just always been part of their life, and my older son will send me off with a kiss, and they'll say, make sure you make the sick babies better. So they know what I do, and they know it's important. but certainly my husband is not thrilled when I have to constantly take calls and texts from patients, but I see it as part of my role and part of my responsibility, building those relationships with families and being available to them and for them. The reason that I started this clinic was because the place I was working at before, I had no autonomy, no control, no respect from the people that were running the business. It was becoming less of a primary care clinic, which is why I went into pediatrics, so you can develop those longitudinal relationships with families and grow with them, and more of kind of a see whatever of the 30 pediatric providers was on. You don't get to develop relationships with families, and then they were transitioning into a mixed urgent care and primary care, and then that would have been 3 nights a week. I wouldn't have been home for bedtime with my kids, and that wasn't realistic. So that's when I decided to jump ship, because that's what was most important to me, was my family.